Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Benjamin and Sky, and you're listening to the Natives in America podcast on the Reservation Radio Network.
Yo.
There he is. That Sky guy.
What's up? What's new? What's popping?
I don't know.
Lacking.
Alright, so me and Sky have already been talking for like an hour, and then we just not hit the button. It was no mistake. We just, I don't think we talk all week, and then we start talking on the phone here, and when he calls in the beginning, we tend to just catch up. Tonight's episode, I'm going to try to get this under the 1 minute. We're at 45 seconds. Tonight's episode, we're talking about fear, and I think there's a bit of a slash of ghosts. But let's start with let's start with fear, and then we'll talk about the other stuff that makes us fearful.
Yeah.
So,
well, what is fear?
Okay, nice, good way to start. My scientific brain starts going off the rails here right away. You say, "What is fear?" And I'm like, "Ooh, how do we get to explain this?" I'm going to take a stab at it, if you don't mind, and then I'd like you to either add feedback or give me your definition. Elaborate on it. Alright, so I think fear is something you don't have as a kid. You don't have reason to fear anything, right? You begin, and all you got is people that surround you and love on you, and there's like no logical explanation for us to have fear. It's just like, oh, you're fearless as a child. But then as adults, it's our duty to tell the kid, hey, don't talk with strangers, and they don't know why. It's like, well, why? And it's like, well, I can't tell you right now, but don't talk to strangers. When you're older, you'll understand. Or, they accidentally catch a glimpse, as a kid of some scary movie, vampires eating people, and you're like, oh my God, why would anybody? And to them as a kid, that's somebody actually eating somebody. And they go, I never would have thought that was possible. Why is that person eating that person? And boom, there's a question, and then there's fear that follows. Alright, so now I gotta look out for people with long teeth. So I kind of feel like fear is a learned pattern, and I want to say it's natural. Like animals have fear. Prey animals have fear of predators. But maybe for them, it's even learned. It's something you learn as a response to some kind of experience you have. Like, oh, there was 10 of us, and then a lion popped up, and now there's only 8 of us. Some lions came, and now I'm afraid of lions. Or the tall grass where the lions came out of, now I'm afraid of tall grass. I remember as a kid, we had this, and Sky, you lived there too, the teachers' complex. They had the dumpsters all the way at the end of the complex, kind of tucked in the background, tucked away in that corner where there's no lighting. It's kind of next to the old track field behind the old high school.
Oh yeah.
They got the track there, and there's no lighting on the track either. So it's just pretty hardcore desert out there. It's just dark. I think there's security lights off in the distance, like where the old FFA complex is, and maybe a couple of those houses that are back there, houses and trailers. There's security lights off in the distance, but for me, that was a place of fear. Like, when I was little, I learned about religion and the gods out there to help you. So, like, I remember taking the trash out. I don't know why they'd ask me to ever take out the trash when it's already nighttime, but that seemed to always happen. Or maybe they told me to take it out during the day, and I didn't do it, and they still wanted it at night. I don't know why, but I was always out there
more realistic.
Alone. Yeah, right, just lazy, and now I'm stuck taking it out at night. But I would, there's probably about 10 houses, 5 on each side at the complex there, maybe 6. And you'd walk down the road that went down the middle, and then all the way at the end, towards all that darkness, there's the dumpster. And the dumpster isn't in view from the apartments. You have to turn the corner and walk into the dirt and into the dark. I remember being a little kid, and I'd be walking out there going, Jesus, 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 Jesus. I'd be saying, God, 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 Jesus, God and Jesus, Jesus, God. And I'd be scared as fuck, like something's going to come out from behind the dumpster or out of the shadows, and it's going to get me. Mm-hmm. Now, thinking about it now, it's irrational. But at the same time, yeah, there's animals that could get me. There's weirdos walking around all the time. Or you know, older people out at night that I wouldn't have expected. And so it was a justified fear, but I'll tell you this, I was terrified. I was scared of taking the trash out at night. But I was for some reason, I was there, I was doing it all the time. So it must have been like, hey, take out the trash. All right, yeah. And then I go play. And it's like, hey, take out the trash. Oh, yeah, the sun's starting to get kind of low. Oh, yeah, I'll do it. And then at night, it's like, God damn it, I told you to take out the trash. Do it. And then I'm out there at night, terrified out of my mind. So what do you think? What do you think, Sky? What can you add to that? Fear. Define fear for us here. What your definition is?
My definition of fear is kind of a mental blockage, almost, in a sense, to where, like, it's all in the head, it's all in your psyche. Because, you know, a lot of times, you know, to get over your fear, you have to, you know, embrace it and kind of dive in. It's kind of interesting how you talk about, like, almost kind of, for some weird reason, getting yourself in this position where you're fearful, you're in a state of fear, but yeah, you still got to get this done. Kind of, almost like you chasing a little excitement, because when we're talking about ghosts and just kind of like, earlier in the day, I was thinking about like how fast the year is going, and kind of Halloween's around the corner.
Yeah, it is.
And so, that was kind of, I remember people bringing up the idea of Halloween and how we kind of like celebrate the fear, and you know, there's all these things that are supposed to be kind of scary, you know, a mummy or a ghost or a werewolf, and they're kind of not as scary. Or I don't know, like, is Halloween a celebration of fear? Like, I mean, I don't know about that, but...
Well, I think in the old days it was a ritual, a ritualized night of chasing the souls and the monsters back. I don't know what it has to do with October or the season, but yeah, I think for a lot of cultures, or maybe the origin of Halloween was... We should have our computers out right now for this.
Well,
okay, go ahead.
There's a lot of things we can be scared about and fearful of, especially in this time. But you know, if it's not embraced or not dealt with, then it's kind of in the fear category. So, I mean, when I think of fear, I think it's kind of a made-up thing in your head. What do you call that? A construct?
Yeah. You earlier you said a mental blockage. What's being blocked? I didn't quite get that. What is it? Is it blocking you from operating like quote unquote normal? Like what block? What's getting blocked in your mind?
I think where you limit yourself, or at least you kind of like maybe doubt yourself or have some type of like weakness of whatever you're fearful of, or almost having to like operate around the fear now because you don't want to deal with it, or you rather not deal with it, so you're gonna go the long way around, and it's never dealt. So I think blockage is just kind of like if you weren't fearful of that, you would know it would be a different route. It will be a different way of handling things, but because you have this way of feeling about something, or not, I think fear is almost similar to conflict, where something has to be addressed. Like you have to say how you feel, or you have to test your will versus something else. I mean, because like you could be like, I think of speaking of like when you're saying the bush, like, you know, all the weeds are growing now, and it's just been raining and it's just green, and I see like all the weeds growing, and they're getting kind of tall now, and I'm just like, I know there's a snake in there. I know there's. Yeah. I think I'm fearful of snakes. But
okay, that's a good direction to take this. What are you afraid of?
I'm fearful of snakes, but I know the snake is not out to get me. But if I put myself in a position to where a snake is attacking me, that's kind of my own fault. Because the snake never, it's not like there's a snake, like, it was never something. Like, the snake is a beautiful creature.
Yeah.
But so easily I can be fearful of it and want to harm it too. I always say that, like you want to hurt the snake more than the snake wants to hurt you. Right?
So I was volunteering at the community building when we had a really bad storm a couple weeks ago, and so I was working in the I don't know, it's kind of like we have we got a Watho Ramada type deal outside the building, and it's all fenced in, and that's where I was working. I was working on the fence, and it had collapsed, and I was rebuilding it. And at the end, when I was done painting it, I went out and I took the hose that was right there by the door, and I was spraying the bucket out, washing my paint brushes out, and then I went to dump them, and I had the hose still running. So I came back into the yard, and boom, caught me like afraid, fear, whatever you want to call it. My fear response kicked in. There was a rattlesnake drinking the water that had been dripping off of the hose right there, like the spigot. It was forming a pool, and there was probably it wasn't thick as hell, but I'd say it was about a 4-foot long rattlesnake, the kind with the like black and white stripes around its tail where the rattle's at. And it was stretched out. It was all long and stuff, and it was drinking water at just at the edge of the pool, the pond, the little puddle. It was drinking water, and like my first impression was like, kill it! Like, you gotta kill it, because it's where everybody walks. So there's these older women that work there at the community building, and their families were all walking through there, and as long as they don't know there's a snake there, they're in danger of getting bit by a snake. So my first thing was like, well, I guess it was like, wow, I haven't seen a snake in a while. Like, here it is. Like, wow, that surprised me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, the whole time I'm standing there looking at the snake, my water hose is just spilling all over the floor on my boots. Like, it's still going. I still have to turn it off. But there's a snake there now. So, I was like, well, it's not rattling. It's just kind of chilling. I'm going to try to turn the water off and just leave this fucker to himself. Now, in the past, I'd go grab a shovel and chop its head off and then, bury the head and just chuck the snake's body somewhere out of the way where it can rot and smell and do all that nastiness and something will come and eat it. But I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna turn this water off because that's my main urgency right now. I even thought about just letting it run and just let it sit there and then come back and check and see if the snake left. I was like, alright, let's do this. Like, I guess I'm a changed man. I'm gotten older. I don't know what it is, but I didn't kill it. And I started walking towards the hose, but I tried to do it slowly. And I think the snake saw my body language, saw that I was creeping towards it. Like, I could have just walked up and probably turned the water off. But instead, I creeped towards it, and then it, like, saw me, it backed up, it, like, clinched up and, like, arched. I don't think it rattled, but it was like, what the fuck, like, well, you want some of this? And I tried like inching in even closer to just reach over and turn the water off. And I think that's where it got really nervous and kind of like, it started like looking like it was getting ready to lunge at me. So I was like, alright, I can't do this. So I was like, I looked around, I was like, do I kill this thing? And then I was holding the hose, and I was like, alright, I'm going to spray this motherfucker. So I just sprayed him. And just like I thought would happen, snakes don't want to be cold. Like, it might have even killed him just by making him that cold in the evening. But I was spraying him, and he didn't like it, so he turned and ran and went under the fridge, and just kind of, there's a fridge outside. And he went under it. It was on top of a pallet, so he went under the pallet, and I guess into a hole wherever he was. Where he came from. And immediately I kind of regretted it. I was like, shit, now there's a snake I can't see. And we're all still walking around. So the next thing I did is I went and told everybody, hey, there's a snake out here, watch out. And they're like, oh, you didn't kill it? I was like, no, I didn't kill it. I felt like a jackass after that. Like, fuck, I should have killed it. Like it's kind of, I've been thinking about it lately. Like, it's kind of fucked up that we just roll up and kill these things, and they're beautiful and awesome, and they're part of the circle here.
Yeah.
But
if
there's kids around, you don't want a kid to get bit. You don't want these elders getting bit. So maybe I should have. I felt like a jackass for not killing it. When my first instinct was like, wow, it's beautiful. Haven't seen one. There was like my nerves seized when I saw it. I was just like, oh shit, like, oh, okay. And then I calmed down, like, okay. So fear for me in that point was a response. It was like, alright, I've had run-ins with these things before. I know they're deadly. They can be deadly. Or I could wind up with a fucking fucked up rattlesnake bite scar or whatever. Like, all sorts of things can go wrong here. And my first instinct, my body seized up. Now, I kind of want to talk about fight or flight. Animals, and I don't know if it's just I don't know if it's just a learned process. Maybe when we're all babies, us and animals included, or we're animals too. If we're all fearless in the beginning. Oh, there's a lion running at me. I don't know what a lion is, so I'm just going to look at it and stare at it. And what is that? What is that? And then it eats me and I die, or it eats my friend, and now I know, okay, lions eat things. Now I'm afraid, or I see a scary movie as a kid, and now, oh shit, there's zombies now? Oh, there's mummies and vampires and wolves? Like, shit. I did not know, but now I know because I saw it in a movie. So I kind of wonder if fear is something we learn, something our bodies remember, and then we respond accordingly when we see something that makes us fearful. And like you were talking about being weak, and I was thinking, alright, yeah, as a kid I'm very weak. When I was a kid walking out to that garbage can, I was very weak. And then I thought, like, damn, like, those are the times we lived in where a kid could take the trash out and walk, I don't know, how far do you think it was? Like 50 yards away from the house? Away from that apartment that we both lived in?
Yeah.
Alright, so 50, 60 yards away, around the corner, with the trash, unsupervised. Nobody was standing at the door waiting for me to come back, or walking with me. They're just like, take that trash out, and I did it. That's the time I leave. Yeah, boy. So that's the time we grew up in. And I was afraid, and I was very fearful, and maybe I had already seen scary movies by then. I was definitely under 12.
Ugly.
And I'm thinking I was about 6 or 7. I moved to Coalfields when I was 12.
Mm-hmm.
But I lived in that house for the longest time, and I think we lived at the Fishbowl before that until I was like 3 or 4. And the Fishbowl's behind the old the Indian Oasis School. So we lived there, and then I moved to the apartment complex behind the old high school. And by then, I think I had learned about fear, and I was fearful. So I'm kind of on the fence here. I think fear is a learned response, and it's both mental and physical. Like, if you're not mentally afraid of something, then I don't think you physically respond to it.
Mm-hmm.
By, stopping in your tracks, turning the other way and running, getting goosebumps, hair rising up on the back of your neck. That's all physical responses. Your heart rate picks up, and then in your mind you're creating pictures of clowns and zombies and wolves waiting in the bushes to jump out and pounce on you.
Oh, yeah.
So there's the mental, the physical. I think it's a full body thing. But really, I'm wondering if we just learn it, because my son isn't afraid of damn near anything, but I think he's seen a few, like, I've tried guarding him a little bit, like, don't look, or I turn it off when he's around. I watch something else, something happy. But at some point, somebody, I'm sure it was his brother and sister and YouTube, probably his mom, because his mom's pretty tight around him, saying, like, hey, don't go out there, like, don't talk to people, like, don't open that door, like, it's kind of, I can see her putting the fear in him. So now, when it's time for him to go use the restroom, he'll tell me to go with him sometimes, because he doesn't want to walk down that hallway and turn on, he wants to turn the lights on before he goes down the hallway. And we've given him nothing but love in this house, so it's like, is Grandma or Grandpa going to jump out and attack you and make you more scared? No. But he's afraid of something in this hallway. And I'm pretty sure it's not a ghost, because they built this house for us, so we've been living here from the beginning. There's no, like, old groundskeeper that lived here and died or anything weird like that. So I'm looking at him and I'm thinking about when I was a kid, and I think fear is a learned response.
Yeah, I think it's the darkness.
The darkness.
I mean, like, you ever heard that saying where, like, kids still know that, like, dragons and, like, creatures exist?
That things go bump in the night?
I mean, there's shit out there in the dark.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and then our minds don't help,
Yeah.
We're expecting the worst.
Yeah. And we fear for our kids too. It's like, there's I hope they don't talk to a stranger that has ill intentions. I worry about these things out there, and I tell my kid to be afraid of it when he's, in his mind, he has no reason to be afraid of some new person. He wants to greet them and say, hi, hello. He wants a little attention,
Yeah.
He's not expecting some dirty man to be trying to take him away from me. So we teach him to be afraid. Like, hey, don't talk to strangers. Don't walk alone at night. Don't go here. Don't leave the yard without me. Stay in the house. If you're going to go outside, I need to be with you. Now that's some real shit, whether it's a ghost in his head or a rattlesnake in mine. Don't go out into our yard alone. This is a desert. I think we're justified in being fearful because shit does happen. And the older you get, the more horrible shit you learn about that could happen. It adds to the list. You watch Jaws, you don't want to go in the ocean, you know? It's like, oh shit, Jaws is out there. Even though they blew him up at the end, he's still alive in the second one.
Oh, yeah. Well, his cousin.
Yeah. As a baby, he blew up and he was pregnant. Oh no, Jaws was a lady.
He was? She was?
No, I don't know. I think that's how they pulled off Jaws 3, I think. It was like there was a baby. Or some shit. I think it was still Jaws in the second one because his face was all blown up. But how do you blow up that much like in the first one? Like it's a big pink mist, you know, there's a big explosion of water and it's all full of blood. How do you get that big of an explosion? It's a gas tank. Those things are like missiles. But in the second one, he has like burn scars on his face. He was like Freddy Krueger a little bit, you know, like I don't know where I was going.
Well, so there's fear of things, but like, what about natural fear? Like not natural.
All right,
fear,
but what is natural fear?
Yeah, earthquake or volcano, tsunami.
All right, that's natural disaster, but natural fear, we still. As kids, we still don't know what that is until we know what that is. So I mean, that's a natural disaster. That's a natural thing to be afraid of. But again, I don't think we're afraid of them because we don't know what they are yet. As kids.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like, is fear in our DNA?
No, mine.
Because Sky, everybody. Sky Annnnd, everybody.
Just kidding.
We should really just call this the Sky Annnnd show, man. All right. He's like, not mine. Shit. Wow. Yeah, alright, so we've had talks before about trauma. Intergenerational trauma is what I think Winona LaDuke called it. And I kind of buy into it where it's plastered all over the news, you know, it's plastered in the history books and movies. It's like, oh, the Native Americans, they were hunted and persecuted and feared as savages, and they were put on their reservations, and they were something to be feared, but at the same time, they're poor Indians, and his tears when we put trash on the ground. He's got 2 tears in the commercial. All right, so there's that. Like, it's plastered. It's propaganda. It's stuff we see all the time, and then you grow up thinking, I don't know, like, oh, people don't like us, or they don't expect much from me. It kind of paints a picture in your mind, and then when somebody does treat you like shit, it's like, oh yeah, it's true. All the talk was true because they still feel this way about me. Like, so there's like an inherited, because of history, I guess, that we have this trauma. Like, nobody tried to genocide me. Well, all right. Well, last episode we had talked about the Border Patrol, and yeah, they have been treated like shit. So I remember that, right?
Yeah.
So there's that trauma, and I chalk it up to part of the historical trauma that we're all aware of, and as Native Americans we remember. You know, And then, so when Winona LaDuke was talking about that, she was talking about intergenerational trauma. And I think if anybody were to say, oh, that's in our DNA now, it's like, all right, in a way, yes, because our DNA is what makes us Native American. All right? So follow me on this. It's what makes us Native American, but again, I don't think the feeling of mistreatment and misconduct carries on in the DNA, but maybe as part of our, we're part of it, we're descendants of it, that it's real, that it's there, that we're aware of it. And then, like I said, I experience horrible things with people of authority, and I wonder, okay, are they treating me this way because I'm Native American, or did I do something? And usually it's like, all right, I didn't do a thing to provoke this, but they're treating me that way. Is it because I'm Native American? Maybe. I don't know. But as a child, that I really doubt that I thought that way. Oh, I can't trust Border Patrol. Oh, I can't trust the police. Oh, I can't trust the government. I didn't grow up thinking that. So I'm wondering if I wasn't born with fear. You know what I'm saying? Like I think as children we smile. There's happiness, and then there's sadness when you don't, you cry or whatever. When you're hungry, it's how you communicate as a baby.
Yeah.
But I really don't think we're afraid until somebody gives you a reason to be afraid. Like, oh, that nanny's gonna shake me again. Like I don't know. Like, you think it's in the DNA, or do you think we just learn it?
I think we learn it. I mean, we learn it, and then either let it consume us or we deal with it. But I don't know. It's like sometimes it seems like when we tell the story, we want to. Be the triumphant one, be the one that got over it, that got through it. We're in the stories we like to be the one rising up.
Yeah. Let me ask you this: is there anything that you were afraid of as a kid and now you're not? Like you've thought your way out of it or something. Damn this mic.
No, but I think. Like, I remember walking in the desert, and I don't know why, but it was just like I would think horrible things. Just maybe try to walk faster and hurry up and get out of there, but it was just like, it was always like, man, what if I just saw something, But in my head, it was like I was kind of like wanting to see something.
Yeah. I was going to bring that up.
So, I always had this idea of like just crossing paths with like a Grim Reaper guy and like not wanting to do that, not wanting to cross paths with him. But yeah, I still have to walk in the desert. I still have to get home. I still have to, get through this trail. So looking back, I'm like, why was I thinking like that? But I don't know, fear kind of, it can be motivating to where maybe we scare ourselves to do other things.
Tell me this: when it comes to walking the dark trail now, are you still afraid, or do you just not walk dark trails now?
I still assume. I think I still assume that there's something out there. I still feel like there's this thing out there. So even now, we'll give our scraps to the dogs. And there's a spot outside where I usually toss old food and stuff. Yeah. And it kind of reminded me of your story of going to the trash can. It was like I'm always throwing stuff out at night. Yeah. So there's this moment of, sometimes I try to get my phone because it has a flashlight on it, but in my head sometimes I think I can go out there and I remember how I looked in the daytime. So if I go out there, I know if I just follow the daytime feeling, I'll find what I'm looking for. But I get out there and it's not the same. It's just this dark, I don't want to say cloud, but definitely some weird thing. And so I still kind of scare myself. I still do that. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it is, because it's not like I can, it's not like I use it as an excuse to not do it. Or, I'm not going to go outside because I believe this. Well, I guess, the word superstition, is that tied to fear? Yeah, I guess so, because if you weren't, I kind of feel like the result of a superstition is you don't want something that you're afraid of to happen. Don't step on a crack or you'll break your mama's back. It's like, alright, avoid stepping on cracks because you're worried about your mom all the time. That's kind of a superstition. Don't walk under a ladder. Don't open an umbrella in the house. There's all these. They sound stupid, but there was reasoning behind it, and I think it was fear motivated. I think so. You're afraid of a result, so you do something superstitiously to avoid that. Maybe. So yes, I guess my answer is yes. Do you have any superstitions? I don't know why, but with the umbrella in the house, I guess the idea of being caught up in bad luck, Yeah. That's. I mean, I don't think about it all the time, but it does cross my mind sometimes where I'm like, I have there's other things. Yeah. So, you've seen my house, you've seen my yard. We got a pretty good sized fenced in yard on the front of the house. And I got this back door that I go through. They're like French doors. There's two doors. They open up. I usually open the one, but I'll just walk right out there. There's a light right outside, but it really doesn't cover shit for the yard. The yard's pretty dark all the time, and I'll just walk out there. Usually I'll
I'm going out there to either drink some beers with my friends or family, or I'm going to cook out, or both. You know, it's like somebody rolled up and we're going to drink and cook some meat. So I'm like, oh, I just go out there. No flashlight, nothing. I run out there, and then when I need to see something, I break the flashlight out. But I just walk out there. Same with the front door. No problem. Just walk out. But, like, there's something about this window by my kitchen.
Wow.
They almost always have the curtains open, even at night, and it's pitch black out there. And I always feel like I'm watched in there. And I think it's because it's not part of my closed-in yard. Because I mean, I could get bit by a rattlesnake out there easy, right? Like my dad, I guess before I moved back down here, I guess one of the morning he goes out to go to dialysis, and when he does in the morning, he usually goes out 4 o'clock in the morning. The sun's usually not up. He'll open the door and go sit on the porch and wait for his ride or something. And I guess one of the mornings he opened the front door, and a rattlesnake tried to come in. I guess it was sitting on the porch, and it halfway came in, and he closed the door on it. So ever since then, I try to make sure our outer door is closed, so that when I open my front door, there's nothing sitting there waiting for me. But I look now. Ever since he told me that story, when I open the front door, I'm like, ooh, like I look first. I look on the ground and in the corners, and my first step out is always kind of cautious outside the door. Because in my mind, all right, there's probably a rattlesnake sitting under the bench or whatever. There's all these like dark corners on our front porch. So my first step is cautious. When I go in the kitchen and that window's open, I'm cautious, like I'm being watched. There's all this darkness out there. It's unknown. Now, is that afraid of the dark, or is that like, hey, I'm kind of justified? Like, no, it's probably not justified. But I'm 35 now, and it's still something. There's something to that. I go in the kitchen and I see that window's open. I'm like, ooh, like I'm aware of it. And then if I go in the back room, that's also outside of our fenced yard. So it's like I gotta cautiously open that back door because somebody might be out there or something might be out there. I don't know what it is. There's no real difference between our front yard and our backyard. There's an outer fence that goes all the way around, but really, this is just desert. This is open desert. Anything could fucking happen in any side of the yard. You know, like he had a snake come through the front door. Well, there's fences everywhere, but there it was.
Yeah.
So now I'm kind of fearful going out this front door. So yeah, like I guess I'm still kind of afraid of the dark. Like I was eventually I want to talk about the YouTube channel I was telling you about. And there's a whole group of fear that I've been experiencing lately on that, and I've been fighting it because it's like, there's nothing. So I'm afraid of the dark.
You don't want to admit it, but
I'm a grown-ass man, and I'm afraid of the dark. And I think most of it's a little more natural, like, there might be, the animals come out at night. But at the same time, that window in the kitchen, I think I'm thinking there's a Mexican out there. There's cartelli and, border jumpers standing out there watching me cook my food. It's like, more than likely there isn't a damn person out there, but I don't like that window being open at night. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I wasn't even bringing this up thinking, I'm afraid of the dark. But yeah, I think I'm afraid of the dark still. And what is it? I think it might be the unknown.
Yeah, I mean that's what I mean. Like our imaginations can imagine anything. So you create a space where you don't know what it is, then why not think of the scariest shit ever? But it's almost like someone watching you.
Yeah.
So it's like, do you think someone's watch it.
Well, that's the funny thing. Like I said, when I go in the front yard here, and I'm cooking out or something, I just walk out there. I don't care. Like I was like, I'll just go out there. There's probably snakes. I just walk right out this door, rip it open, go cook something, go start a fire. You know, meet people out in the yard and like, hey, let's go sit over here. Like, sit by the fire. Let's make a fire and chill. And I feel completely safe. And all it is this holy-ass old fence that we built like a long time ago. That's not stopping anybody. If they want to get in, they get in. But I feel safe in my front yard. It's a different story in my backyard. It's when I look out that window, it's facing a part of my yard that isn't fenced in. I mean, it's fenced in, but like we have big, wide open gates on both sides of that window. And I have to realize, I have to admit that, yeah, I'm afraid of the dark. I'm afraid of what's out that window. I didn't want to admit it. I brought it up like, oh, casual. Oh, it's this window. But yeah, the more I think about it, yeah, I'm afraid of what's outside that window. What's outside my yard.
Yeah. And
it's probably all because it's nighttime. I look out there during the day and that feeling's not there. But I look at a pitch black window, and I can even see my reflection on the window because I have the lights on, and I can't see out there. There's something about that I'm afraid of.
Yeah, you know, it reminds me of I can't have this quote I was reading where it's like, it says trees obscure the forest. But there's a tree. You know what a tree is when it's just by itself. Like, yeah, that's a tree. You know, it has its stump, whatever. Like, that's a tree.
Yeah.
But
it's nothing. It's natural.
You surround yourself in a place where there's hundreds of trees, and then suddenly you don't know what's out there.
Huh. Interesting.
And it's the trees obscure the forest to where anything could be out there.
Well, again, I think we've all seen enough. Like, shit seems to always, like, even as a children, Little Red Riding Hood is being stalked by this wolf in the trees in the forest. You know, like, in my mind, my first thought when you mentioned forest, I'm like, and you mentioned hundreds of trees, I'm like, alright, who's behind those trees? And then I started thinking about it, alright, how many movies have I seen of people popping out of the trees, or people, you know, serial killers taking people and burying them in the trees? Trees are just trees. But when I think about that forest that you just described, in my mind I could see it, all these trees, and all I could see was shadows in a bunch of places that I couldn't see. What's behind that tree? Like, who's standing behind that, peeking around when I'm not looking, watching me in these trees?
The creatures.
Yeah.
Come out.
Yeah. Put me in that forest, and I would be afraid. I'd be watching and listening, and every crack and bump that happens in the night, every branch twig that breaks, I'd probably be spinning around and looking and trying to get my phone out for the flashlight, like just wanting to see more. I'm getting kind of nervous right now thinking about it. Like, I'm sitting in my room with the lights on, and there's no reason for me to be afraid, but I'm nervous just talking about this imaginary forest of yours. That's an interesting take.
It's but it's the truth. I mean, like, our mind can focus on one thing, but when we're put in a place where we don't know what is what.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, why I mentioned all the movies is like, again, I'm like, all right, am I being ingrained with this? Am I being taught and trained that there's something bad out there?
Well, I think it's the word, when you said cautious, it's like, would you rather be a little ready prepared, or would you be like kind of naive to dangerous situations?
That's interesting. If I knew I was going to the forest, or like I've been thinking lately, I've been kind of planning in the back of my mind this like camping trip up to the mountain out here. Not Babo, like it's still the mountain chain of Babo, but
yeah,
there's a place called Bear Canyon that's like east of this village. I'm sure there's Bear Canyons everywhere, but there's one that I know of this way, east of Coalfields. I sometimes lose the road when I'm trying to find it, but there's this old house out there. It's kind of dilapidated. It's I think it's all made of adobe, and in my mind I want to go camping up there. And I don't think I would start heading out there without some sort of weapon. A knife, a machete, an axe, a gun. I don't think I would go out there empty-handed.
Mm-hmm.
I would definitely have a backpack. I'd have a bunch of water, some snacks, and a weapon. Like, you have to eat, you have to drink, and you have to be able to defend yourself, especially up there. Like, there's, in my mind, there's a high risk of getting, accidentally stumbling on some boar, like some javelina, getting gored. But my real fear is the mountain lion. There's actual fucking lions in our mountains out here. And this big cat that is known for being a stalker, like they know you're there, they're watching you, and you're not even aware there's a mountain lion, 10 feet away from you. So my trip might not ever happen because of that, but like I do kind of want to test myself and like see if I can make a fire. I got enough stuff that can just make a fire, but like I want to go out and do like a survival challenge type thing out there before I'm too old to do it, and before I just want to do it. There's this desire. Now I don't know. I had a point. I'm saying I wouldn't go. So right now where I'm at, the closest forest, quote unquote, is the desert, and I wouldn't go into the forest or the desert without a weapon. And if I found myself out there in the forest empty-handed, I'd make a weapon. And I think that's solely based on fear.
Well, so that's what weapons are for, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, it's justified. Yeah, it's justified, right? There's mountain lions. There's freaking wild animals out there.
Yeah.
Things bigger than I am. Like, I'm a big ass dude, but if you put me against a mountain lion, I'm probably gonna die.
Oof.
Like if I had a spear and a knife and a gun, I'd feel better.
Yeah.
But the way they hunt, man, you could be walking by a ridge and they jump down, bite you on the neck, and you're fucking done. So for one thing, I wouldn't be roaming around blind in the dark. If it were night, I'd have a perimeter set up, I'd have a fire, and I'd have my knife or weapon or whatever the hell it is with me, just in case.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think that's the ultimate testing of your fears, is going out camping at night, or almost kind of putting yourself out there.
Yeah. If I went to Bear Canyon alone, I think I'd be asking for trouble.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think I mean, I think we should be our own worst enemy.
Mm-hmm.
Scare ourselves.
Oh, okay. All right. So, I wanted to bring this up. There is an entire industry of scary movies. All right. Now there's all types. There's like serial killers. There's aliens. There's zombies. There's demons. There's like hauntings. There's like a whole industry. And it does very well. You know it makes billions of dollars, and we're throwing our money at this industry, saying scare us, right?
Mm.
What do you think that's about? Like, what do you think that's all about?
I mean, I think that's kind of like the playfulness of it, because you know, we can go to a movie to scare ourselves, but you know, we can also kind of be in charge of it, you know, not so caught off guard, or, you know, have to be, I don't know, were there any good horror films that are sagas that you were scared, but yet you still were intrigued, or you just kind of followed along?
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. I just think we like to trick ourselves. We like to goof around. I mean,
so I was thinking about my mom right now. Like, part of it is a conversation I had with her. But let me put this out there. I think she is more afraid of a slip and fall than somebody looking in our windows looking at her. I think she's more afraid of taking a misstep than that, you know? I think she's more afraid that I'm going to go out and party with somebody and get in a car wreck than she is about what goes bump in the night. Like, maybe she is, but she doesn't talk about it. But my vibe from her, my understanding from her, is that she's completely fearless about, you know, night and dark, but she's more afraid of getting injured, or me getting injured. I almost want to call it stuff that could actually happen. She's more afraid of that than what could possibly be going bump in the night. Alright?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've had this conversation with her about the horror industry. She's not a fan, she doesn't watch it. But I told her that I think we sometimes watch scary movies to feel like a kid again. Like we want to be scared and feel that fear we used to have. Now I say that, I'm still scared of the dark out that freaking window. But I still wouldn't put it up to par with like me trying to take that trash out. So it's like I was terrified. Like I was saying the Lord's name to try and protect me. Like I was terrified. Me, it's like, all right, this is in the back of my mind. I'm heating something up in the microwave, and in the corner of my eye, I'm keeping an eye on the window. Or like, I'm aware that it's open. Like I give it a thought, I go, oh shit, it's open, and then I get back to what I'm doing. So yes, I'm still afraid of that shit, but I'm saying I'm not as terrified as I was. I'm not terrified like I was as a kid, where I was terrified. And I was saying that when we watch scary movies, we're trying to get that terror back, like just dip in it, you know, like feel it again. And I was trying to explain that to my baby's mom, that like she won't watch a fucked up sad movie with me. She just won't, like refuses. And me, I tell her, well, you know, she's like, why do you like it? And I go, well, I feel like I don't feel those feelings all the time as much as I used to as a kid or whatever, so I'm kind of exercising those feelings. almost like I'm trying to feel the full spectrum of emotions that we're capable of, and by watching a scary movie or a sad movie, watching something that makes you want to cry, like watching a sad movie, is like exercising.
Yeah, I get that.
So, what do you think? What do you think about all that? The horror industry, or why is it doing so well? Why do we pay to get scared? You go to a haunted house during Halloween, during October.
Yeah, I mean, I think another thing too is where we like to, I don't know. Like I said, like we want to tell the story in an uplifting way, but like, it's like me eating chili because it's like, you're. Well, I guess it used to be like that, but like, if you like chili or macho, you can just eat it. So like, just to prove that you can go with the big dogs, you'll just eat some chilies just to show your manliness, like your manliness.
Yeah.
Or your braveness, or your cojones. I don't know if that's the right word, but it's like, it seems like we get off of being, we were scared, or we were put in a scary spot, but then, you watch the movie and you get scared, but then the movie over is, it's like, I'm not scared no more, so it's like, I don't know, it's like, asking that, I wonder, like, do we only watch the movies, the horror films, just so that we can say we, not overcame it, or
you weren't scared?
Yeah.
That wasn't scary.
The fear didn't do much to me. I don't know. It seems like that could be a reason why it's like we like to brag of how we deal with our fear too.
Yeah. In the back of my mind, when I'm talking about that window, in the back of my mind, I see some macho ass dude, or even a lady going, "Pussy, what you scared of? There ain't shit out that window." Like looking down on me because I'm admitting, hey, I'm afraid of the dark. I'm afraid of that open, dark ass window that I can't see out of. I don't even know if you can call it afraid, but I'm like aware of it, and I feel like it's unjustified.
It bothers you.
Yeah, it bothers me that window is open. The curtains are open. It's midnight, pitch black outside. There's no security lights in sight. It's just blackness, and I'm aware of it. It makes me nervous. Just a little uneasy when I'm in the kitchen in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And what's funny is I would feel a little bit more calm if just this thin ass curtain were closed in front of it. You know what I mean? Like that's irrational. Like what the hell is that lacy curtain gonna do for me if somebody wanted in? If somebody were watching me, what's that little curtain gonna do? But I would feel better if it were closed, at least at night, because like I don't feel that way during the day. That's it. My logical mind is telling me I'm completely out of my mind. I'm irrational, and it's stupid, and I feel embarrassed that I'm admitting this on a recording that we're playing to the public, that I'm afraid of the dark, but I'm doing it.
But I think that is a common thing.
Yeah.
Maybe you're more brave about it, willing to say that than somebody else.
So.
But wait, what?
No, go ahead. Sorry, I keep feeling like I'm cutting you off.
No, but I just like the I don't know, I guess like, we're our own, we get in the way of of the stuff we do, like we might create a fear or what do they say, that a complex. I always liked it. This one girl used that word in school, and she was talking about being afraid of not learning how to swim and being scared to swim. I mean, of course, not knowing how to swim and then never learning.
Yeah,
you could say maybe you were fearful of drowning, but it wasn't necessarily the water, but it was the idea of drowning in the water, maybe. But so I remember someone asked her like why didn't you ever learn how to swim when you got older? And it's just like, I don't know, I built a complex around it. And, like, it made sense, but it was also kind of like, you know, we kind of do create these structures that, you know, that kind of let us be fearful.
Interesting.
Opposed to, like, I mean, speaking of swimming, I mean, I think maybe we were in the time just before the era where, like, when my mom talks about swimming, you know, she's like, yeah, I'm just swimming in there. Just like, if I drowned, I drowned. But like, that's how you deal with fear, right? You know, or does that create more fear? I don't know, but it's definitely. That's what I'm saying. The fear is in the mind. It's in the.
Yeah.
It's in how we see things. It's how we judge things. It's like it's kind of made up at the end of the day. It's. I mean.
It's a good point.
I mean, I guess, yeah. What is something you could be fearful of and not get over?
I could take our trash, and I probably wouldn't walk through the trees because I'd be worried that there'd be some kind of animal. But I could take our trash, walk out down the driveway here, walk up the road, and dump the trash, and there wouldn't be any like, oh, I'm afraid. I could do it because I've done it a million times. Like, I've seen it, I've walked it. I mean, yes, there could be animals in the trees, so I don't walk that way. But, like, what's with this fucking window? It's still out there. It's the same fucking place. I was thinking about it, too. The funny thing is, if my son were in the kitchen and he was acting afraid of the window, I'd tell him there's nothing to be afraid of. You know? I would do that as in hopes that he wouldn't develop a complex like I do. You know, like I would hope that he wouldn't be afraid of that. I wouldn't want my son to be afraid. Even though it still bothers me, I would tell him there's nothing to be bothered about this window.
I think it's because it's the home. You know, you're supposed to feel safe at home.
Yeah.
And you're letting in, that window's letting in a lot of not dark things, but where our mind goes in the dark place where we can assume or have it could be something good out there, you know? It could be something positive. I don't know.
No, I never think of Oh, there's a horse enjoying watching me out there. You know, the funny thing is, I mentioned Mexicans. You know, they're out there watching me. And I even think about all the horror movies I've paid to go see. I paid them to try and make me afraid. And I'm thinking of all the movies where somebody's watching you through the window. And I think that's kind of part of it. It's like, damn it, I paid for that complex that I have now. And the funny thing is, like, I tried to rationalize that fear that, oh, there's Mexicans out there. I've come across Mexicans in the desert and at my home. No matter any time of the year, the season never really matters. Like super hot or the cold of the winter, they're out there. So I was trying to rationalize it right now, like, oh, they're out there. They are out there. They can be out there. They can be out there watching me. But really, every Mexican I've ever actually come across out here were like just tired. They were trying to be kind, and they were just trying to get where they were going.
Yeah.
I have no reason to fear the Mexican. Like, there are cartel people out there. Like, maybe the guy leading them has done some shit, you know, some awful shit. And usually I bet half the people that I've seen come to my door were putting on the happy face, but they were actually like the one talking for the group. That's out there. There's a group out there. I know there's groups out there, but I've only ever seen the one or the two. And they were usually really nice and kind and just asked for some water or maybe some directions. They've often asked for rides or let them use my phone. I usually don't do that. Usually, I've let them use my phone before. I've never given them a ride. But like it's irrational to think, oh, there's a Mexican out there and he's got bad intentions out this dark window, because every experience I've had with them was not bad at all. I mean, I think one guy surprised me. I was little. I was out in the wash, and I was focused on rolling a joint. I was sitting there trying to roll a joint, and this guy just kind of surprised me. Like, I just heard his voice before I heard him walking up. He tried to talk to me, and I just jumped, like, oh, shit, like, what the fuck, where'd you come from? Like, he walked up on me in the desert. Luckily, I had my dog with me, and my dog, who I've never seen act aggressive at all, got between us and raised all her hair and just growled at him, and I was like, oh, shit, like, I've never seen my dog growl. But, like, she, I guess, sensed that I was afraid, and she got between us and said, back the fuck off to this guy. You know, like, that was probably the only, like, woo, scared me, jumped kind of thing that I ever experienced, was that. And that was nothing. Ooh. So it's ridiculous for me to think, oh, there's Mexicans outside my window. They don't give a shit about me. They want some water, some food, and they're trying to make it somewhere else. And if they're watching me, they're probably thinking, hey, I wonder if this guy will give me a ride or feed me or do something like that. They've never... It's irrational. It's irrational for me to think, oh, there's a Mexican out there.
Oh, yeah.
But I said it. Sure. I said it. It's there. I got this complex. I've got a complex. And I'm sitting here in my logical side of my mind trying to rationalize it. Like, all right, there is something to fear out there. But what? I mean, yeah, there's animals. There's real animals out there.
Yeah, but the animals don't do it.
Yeah, they don't. They're just trying to do what they're doing too. And yeah, there's criminals out there too. They're out there. But would they really be wasting their time watching me heat up some noodles or something, cooking up some food? No, I doubt it.
It's
help me out here, guys. Help me out here and say no. There's no one out there, Benjamin. Don't be afraid of that window.
Well, I was like, maybe you have a stalker or a fan that's like.
Oh shit! Don't add to this. Don't add to this. I'm looking out my window right now, like, oh my god, who's stalking me right now? Help me out here, Sky. Say there's nobody out there. Even if you believe it, say there's nobody out there.
There's nobody out there that wants to hurt you.
Oh, God.
They just want to come in and chill with you.
They just want to watch me sleep.
Yeah.
They want to be in my room and pat my hair while I'm unconscious.
Just want to cuddle you.
Oh, God.
Well, so I guess what could be the worst thing? That fearful mind. This window that's inviting.
That's an interesting way of thinking of it. What could be the worst thing that's outside that window?
Yeah, I mean,
it will be in my mind. Let me see if I can explain it. It'd be somebody out there watching me with ill intent. Like they want to get in the house and they want what I have. And even saying that, it doesn't seem rational. But that's probably the worst thing that could be out there. Even if a mountain lion were out there, I really wouldn't be as fearful as a person. Like, people are dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's not irrational. People are dangerous. There's the stranger danger. That shit's real. Now, is it statistically more real out here on the res? Probably not. There's probably not some hateful white guy standing out my window watching me sharpening his knife. Probably not. And what's funny is, the guy in my mind is either a cartel-y Mexican guy or a white guy. I'm not thinking one of my native neighbors are out there and I'm afraid of that. It's not that at all. Like, I'm comparing it in my mind, and if it's serial killer shit, it's a white guy, and if it's criminal shit, it's some Mexican guy crossing the border. I seriously don't even think, which is probably more likely is a native dude that's, I didn't treat right in my past, and now he's here to get exact revenge. Which is a little more likely. There's a bunch of natives out here. But in my mind, there's a serial killer white guy or a Mexican guy that, I don't know.
Yeah.
And it's irrational. That's irrational.
I don't know why in my head, like, I think it's like where we assume there's someone out to get us. I think like that sometimes, where someone's just gonna come and just, cause chaos or something. I don't know. It's just like, but then hearing you saying it out loud and it sounds kind of silly.
Yeah. Well, you said out loud that they just want to be inside with me. That creeped me out. I was like, yeah. Oh, God. Like you've been in my house, you've been in my bedroom. There's these two doors that we usually come through, the French doors in my room, and then there's the outside French doors. They're right there. They're like probably 5 feet away, maybe less. That's the outside right there, and I'm looking through the windows right now like, who wants to hold me right now out there? And you know what's funny is it's men, too, in my mind. There's no scary woman out there. It's a man. There's a scary man out there. What's funny is, I wanted to say, it was another thing my baby's mom says to me all the frickin' time, is that men will never understand how fearful women are of men. And I always kind of like, I try to give her that, like, okay, yeah, there's rape, there's rape. And I think that's what she's mostly talking about, like, there's always that danger that men have on women, but like, men, I was watching this, I think it was, what the hell's the name of that show? SVU? Special Victims Unit? What's the show? Yeah. So they had an episode the other day, and it was like this guy got raped, and nobody would go along with this story. He was trying to get the lawyers to back him and to help him sue this woman and get her charged with rape because they raped him.
Yeah.
And the whole thing was like, the cops was like, man up, you fucking pussy, and the women's like, yeah, it could happen. Like the one lady that I think her name's Mariska Hargitay or something like that. She's like, oh, it could happen. It can happen to anybody. You know, somebody can lose control and they do stuff to you that you don't want them to do. You know, so like, I want to give my baby's mom the benefit. Like, yeah, all right, I get it, but I don't. Like she's like, oh, there's men. She always says it this way: men will never understand the fear that women have of men. And I always think, you know, right in my head, I've been surrounded by a bunch of dudes that wanted to hurt me before. I've been in that situation where, like, I'd be at a party, and I'd be chilling with my friend, but he's got all these other friends that are a bunch of gangster fools that don't like me. Like, I've already had run-ins with them before, and now they're friends with my friend, but not me still. So I'm there drinking, and they're looking at me, and I'm thinking, all right, at any point I might have to defend myself because I'm surrounded by a bunch of people that don't like me.
Yeah.
I've been in that situation. Now, I wasn't thinking, oh, they're gonna rape me, but I was like, you know, looking at a group of people or like a big ass dude that I knew I probably couldn't take. I had the fear, you know, like, all right, I better be ready. You know, keep an eye on this guy. Try to separate, but at the same time, I'd rather know where he's at than fucking get, you know, surprised. But I even then, I don't think I'm on the level that she's talking about. I think what she's talking about is walking alone, you know, taking the trash out at night in an alleyway, you know, walking out to get something out of the car, going and checking the mail, and it's nighttime. Like, I could do those things, and I would keep an eye out, but I don't think I'd have the fear that she has. And I don't want to say it's not justified. She's a good-looking woman, and I mean, not that you got to be good-looking to be attack-worthy. I'm just saying, like, yeah. So I'm trying. I guess I'm just trying to understand it, what she's getting at. But yeah, you did just put me on that level where you're like, oh, they just want to be inside with you.
Well, I mean, I guess, like, yeah, I'm thinking of, like, fearful where there's someone wants to come into your house and attack you, but then you get a little bit more kind of creepy. It's like somebody that wants to almost be your friend, but you're watching from a distance. I don't know. They don't.
I just want everybody to know that I'm going to be locking my doors after this. I'm going to be checking the locks and closing that curtain in the kitchen.
I don't know. I mean, it's I mean, that's kind of scary though. Like, if there was like a person that was, you know, watching you, like, I don't know, like a fan or somebody.
We're not that famous right now, Sky. We're just not there.
Alright, well, what if you were, it was a fan that was just, well, that's like, I mean, that's what happened to John Lennon. I mean, he got attacked by and that was just.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think anybody can be scary too. Maybe anybody can bring fear into another person's psyche, I guess.
You know, we're talking about this, and I was thinking about the difference between here and Tucson. On the reservation, I'm out here. Where me and you, we both live out here now, out in the desert, and I can walk out to my mom's car. She parks outside the fence here. I can walk out there, and I'll be aware that I'm outside and I need to keep an eye out for animals, whatever, maybe even people, but it's not fearful. When I'm in town, I religiously lock the door, and when I did go out to my car in the middle of the night, I would be looking over my shoulder. Now, is that rational or irrational? Like comparatively, like I feel safer here overall in Coalfield in the desert than I do in town.
I can see that. I mean, there's a lot of, even the community where you're from, like, you know where people are, who's who. But like, in the city, it's like full of people you don't know.
Yeah. And they're from everywhere.
Yeah. So I don't know what the question was. Is it more scary or is the fear different? Because I always say that now too, because like we're also from a time where sometimes you didn't lock your doors. But in Tucson, it's like I have to lock my door.
Yeah.
Because
or Phoenix, when you lived up there.
Yeah, it wasn't. I guess.
Is that more rational than irrational?
What, like?
Is it more likely that you're gonna come across somebody or somebody's gonna come across you than out here? In town than out here?
Now, kind of like going back to what I was saying, like about how times have changed. I remember like going to the neighbor's house to borrow flour or eggs or sugar or something, but like it was okay to go to your neighbors because you knew them, but like when I'm living in town, when I was living in the city, I wasn't trying to hit up anybody with no eggs.
That's interesting.
There is sort of a hospitality vibe in the desert for us because this is where we're from, but like opposed to being in a city where you're pretty much surrounded by strangers and you have valuables and you gotta protect those because so easily someone will just rob you. I mean, it's true too. I guess that's the crazy part about it is like people will take advantage of you if you're naive or if you're not being smart about how you're operating. Like, they'll steal from you, but you'll get robbed in a second. Just because you're not being. Is the word safe or what? But it's like, again, like I'd rather assume you're going to be a dangerous person versus a friendly person.
Let me ask you this. Is that an American thing?
I think so.
Assuming the worst of somebody that you don't know?
I can't reference any other country and say, like, oh, man,
yeah, I guess so.
But, like, I think it is. I think we're so in a box to where how we're, I guess, categorized, and everybody has almost their stereotypes too, and I fit a description of a stereotype, and so do you to somebody else, and it's not. There's no unification. You're this, and there's stuff about you that we know. I don't know. It's just kind of. It's like we're all trying to survive on false information because it's built around the fear. Maybe, I don't know. I mean,
so that apartment I had, the last apartment I had, I got a call one night from my neighbor. She lived like where I parked was right outside my door, but like there was a little wall there, and then there's another group of apartments, the same apartment complex, but like the next building, I guess, went along the parking lot where my van was, where I was parking my van, and I got a call from my neighbor, and she's like, "Hey, are you in your car right now? Are you wearing a hat?" And I was like, "What?" I was like, "Oh fuck!" I was like, "No, I'm not," and I hung up. I jumped up, and the first thing I grabbed was a gun. And I was like, this is why I got it, you know, I'm going to go out there and point it. And then I thought, you know, if I do that, and he does something, then I'm going to be shooting somebody, and then, you know, I'm going to have all this attention on me and this gun. I was like, alright, I'm not going to do it. So I looked around, and I was looking, and I was like, what do I got here? Like a hammer? I grabbed a hatchet, and I went out there. But I spent so much time looking for a weapon, he was already gone. I guess he finally realized, you know, my neighbor was onto him. And but yeah, by the time I got out there, he was already gone. And I looked through my car. Luckily, at the time, I didn't keep anything in my ride. Like I had just gotten it maybe like a year before then, and I kept it like just empty. But I think he got like a plug-in USB thing for the cigarette lighter. I'm pretty sure that's all he got away with, but it was kind of violating. It was kind of like, oh shit, like my safe space, you know, oh shit. But it was like, okay, well, I need to make sure I lock my door now, like the van door, because I had heard several times before that we had people, like our complex there was a store right on the corner behind our complex. And there used to be a hole in the fence, so people, you know, any random people that are trying to, you know, cut like quarter mile out of their trip, they cut through our complex and go through the fence. So people were still coming through after they closed it, and there were reports that people were checking doorknobs, you know, seeing if cars were unlocked. And I guess one of them finally made it to my van. And happened to get it on one night where I wasn't even sure if I locked it or not. And it wasn't this big fear thing, but it was like, this is a place where I feel normal, and now I gotta watch it. Now it's been cleared up in my head that I need to make sure my van door is locked, so I don't have to deal with this like that again. But it's that sort of thing. It's like an eye opener. Like, it's not gonna happen to me. And then it does, you know?
Yeah.
Like, this happened to my buddy down the way. Somebody was searching through his car and took the change out of his, you know, out of the little cup holders. You know, no big deal. It was him, not me. And then it happened to me, and it was like, I better make sure it wouldn't happen to me, but it did. And it wasn't a big fear thing, but it was like, damn it, like, now I have to make sure my doors are locked.
That's the disrespect.
Yeah.
But it's like, come on,
It's like, god damn it.
You gonna go here?
Yeah, I was mad. Like, my neighbor she always goes out and smokes, and her door was like right in front of my parking space. So she was actually standing there. She went out to smoke, and this guy was sitting in my front seat, like digging around under the seat and like looking around. He saw her, and he continued to do what he was doing. So that's why she asked, like, "Oh, are you in your car right now? Are you wearing a hat? Like, is that you?" I was like, "No, it's not me. Somebody's fucking with my car." And I hung up and I started looking for a weapon to fucking hit this guy with. Like, I was like, fuck. I took so long looking for the right weapon, and he already left. So I went out there, and I'm all holding a hatchet, and I was like, oh, well, okay, I guess that didn't happen.
Well, you gotta imagine what fear was for him.
Well, I was hoping to cause fear for him. Like, all right, you keep fucking around in my car, and I'm gonna axe you.
Yeah, X-Man.
X-Men.
No, I mean, but like, yeah, the fear of getting caught, or the fear of going to jail, or I don't know what. Because what about people that like steal? They get a thrill in stealing, or
yeah. Well, he probably does. He didn't even live there. Like, what's interesting too is like the awkwardness of me in this window here. Like, the more I think about it sounds stupid, but the more I think about this window here, it's awkward. It's awkward and kind of makes me nervous. But even in comparison, I didn't feel that way even after that dude got in my car. I didn't feel that uneasiness. It was like, all right, I better, before I went inside, I just locked my door. Problem solved.
Yeah. But was it the fear that you just solved it?
I don't know. The more I think about it, all of it, the more irrational I feel.
Yeah.
Like I'm a scientist, man. Overall, I'm a scientist. In my mind, I'm basically teasing myself in my mind right now. Like, why am I so nervous around that? Like, why this and not that? It just seems irrational, completely irrational. Like, is that what fear is? Is fear totally irrational? Because it doesn't seem like it to me. Like we actually are capable of fear for a reason. Like in animals, it's to save their lives. And that whole fight or flight, we have it too. We're not bulletproof. We're not fearless. We have the mechanism in our bodies, our physical body, to react to a stimulus that makes us think, hey, I better either get ready to fight or run. I don't know. All right. Well, yeah. You got any last words on that? I think we've covered enough here. Like, this is. I think what it comes down to is philosophical. Kind of like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Like, what are we born with fear? Is it in our DNA, or is it something we learn? What do they call it? Nature versus nurture? Are we born with it, or do we learn it? And I'm still kind of on we learn it. Like, yeah, we have fight or flight, but even then, I think that comes from experience.
Yeah.
And even in the scary movies, when somebody's looking at somebody through a window and they're planning on hurting them, That shit does happen. A lot of it's based off of stuff that has happened. Maybe not so much on the res, or maybe they haven't made enough movies of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I cut you off a second ago. What were you gonna say?
I mean, you know that movie, The Fourth Kind?
Yeah.
I remember watching that shit and just being, because that lady lost her daughter. Like, the aliens took her kid. Like, she has no. I guess that was always kind of something scary growing up. Was like, I mean, even now, but I don't. It's not like I'm preparing, like, oh man, I'm gonna get abducted by aliens tonight, you know? But like, maybe the idea of being kidnapped was always kind of something fearful. Because, you know, when we're little, when we visit relatives in town, and I just remember always seeing these signs of these missing. A lot of times it was young girls. They were missing. And I remember this one girl that was, she lived in the same apartment complex my grandma lived in. And she was missing for, I don't even know if they found her, but it was always just something. Like, man, what if someone just takes you, you know? What if someone just took you away and never, either just, you know, you had to start a new life somewhere else, or you're locked up somewhere. I don't know, it just that whole scenario is a scary one. The control, too, like, I think that's another thing is, you know, what we can't control.
Yeah.
Plays a big part in it as well. So, yeah, I feel like we can dive deeper into a lot of this stuff. Mm-hmm. You know, I think a lot of it, too, where it's maybe what we're watching, to where that's what influences what we're fearful of. Yeah. So I mean, I think we're also. I mean, you remember that show? Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Yeah, I think so.
Like, we kind of prep ourselves to want to be scared.
On one of our previous episodes, I think we were talking about being prepared. I think the photo image I went with was this painting of a smiley face and it says "Stay safe," and somebody commented on it, and they said that the movie industry is in cahoots with the government and they're trying to prepare us for what might come. And yeah, so when they have all these tornado movies, or like, you know, 2012, the super volcano and the Earth getting displaced, you know, tectonic displacement, that they're getting us ready for what could come. You know, what, like the day after tomorrow, volcano, Dante's Peak. I think I told you before about the whole zombie thing, that maybe it's not zombies, you know, dead people walking, but really people that are sick, that are gonna die, but they could make us sick too, like spread it. Like World War Z and all that, like all that.
Maybe.
That's like, alright, if you avoid the zombies, which is sick people, you won't get sick and you'll live. Anyway, that was a point that somebody tried to point out on the comments.
Yeah, I mean, there might be some truth to that. I think it's too like the blockbuster video. I mean well, maybe that's changed now because now we have the option of streaming at our house, and some people are still going to the theaters, but it's like the anticipation of like you have to watch it in movies versus now you can stream it from your device, whatever.
The safety and comfort of your home.
So the blockbuster video, I always like when people were still going to the movies. I felt like whatever that film was, there's a lot of subliminal things that they were selling. Pepsi, Coke, I don't know, just had all that in there. So like the film that everybody was excited to see, there's a lot of hidden stuff too. But like I said, now we're all kind of watching movies differently, and what is the game plan to brainwash us all, you know? If we're not, the masses aren't watching the same movies like we used to. But I don't know. I mean, it seems a little kind of pulling the lines, but I mean, even the Wizard of Oz, like we were saying, like, there's a lot of dark shit in that.
Yeah.
And on the surface, it seems like a good thing. So maybe what we're watching or what we think is a good thing is really not a good thing. It really is a thing that's getting us ready for the worst.
Yeah. Or it's gripping us in fear.
Oh yeah.
Well, I want to say about my irrational fear of, the unexpected person. Everybody in all these like true horror, like the real deal that's happening in reality, everybody always says, oh, they seem like a normal person. You know what I mean?
Wait, say it again?
No, I'm saying in real life, when there were serial killers, that person watching people through the windows, everybody who knew the person and came in contact with them said, oh, I can't believe this happened. He seemed like a normal guy.
Yeah.
So let's address the. I'm just saying it's not as irrational. Yes, it's me in that window is irrational, but everybody who we don't suspect can also be that person. So like you're saying, oh, you know your neighbors. I'm like, everybody in those situations thought they knew their neighbor. So I don't know. Let's address the people now and say what we're actually getting at here. Why did we talk about fear? I've been watching. I'm not even go deep in this. I'm just gonna say I've been watching some freaky movies lately on YouTube. I've been following this horror channel called Project Dark Knight Horror, and I watch it. That almost scared me just now. We just made that noise. After I'm done watching these shows, like he has lists of. He basically finds horror, compiles it, like poltergeist, ghosts, demons, all this stuff. They, sightings of stuff we can't explain. He finds them, compiles them, talks about them, and shows them. And it's brought out these fears in me lately. Like I tend to watch it at night, of course. I watch it during the day and it creeps me out. But like, what keeps happening is like, especially with the poltergeist stuff, I'll be like, even now, right now, the fan is blowing in my room and the curtain's moving. You know, but every now and then when I'm watching these movies, it'll catch in the corner of my eye, all the curtains moving. Is it moving? Is it moving enough because of the fan, or is it moving just a little bit too much and maybe irregularly? Like fear. I think, in conclusion, I think fear is something we learn, and I think if you think about it too much, there's a chance you'll build a complex, like this guy says about this girl, that there's a complex that happens. Now, I saw a meme, I don't know if you can call it a meme, it was like a cartoon, and I think it was like a way of inspiration, or at least changing the way you think. It said, look at this picture. It said, it was basically a crappy drawing of a hand holding a cup of water. And it said if the hand holds it for 2 seconds, it's no big deal. You hold it for longer, then you get a little sore, you know, or you start to get uncomfortable. And then you hold it for even longer than that, then your arm starts to get sore. If you hold it for days, then you'll probably drop it. You'll probably be hurt and sore, and you'll probably, you know, never want to do that again, or something like that, something along those lines. And then it said, now think of that cup as your thoughts. Maybe even negative thoughts, I think, is what they were leaning towards. If you think about it for a little bit, cool, no problem, no big deal. Think about it a little longer, it can cause, you know, a little discomfort. Think about it even longer, it can cause you a little bit of pain, physical pain. And then if you think about it day in, day out, day and night, think about the repercussions of that and how horribly that can affect your life if you just think about it and think about this horrible things. And now think about all the freaky movies we've seen, and how I've seen so many creepy torture guy, killer, serial thing, people watching people through a window, that now I'm afraid of this kitchen window when there's probably absolutely nothing out there. You know? So remember that. Think about it, and maybe
you're overly prepared.
Yeah, I think my fear of that window is irrational. Because there's a difference. Like when I said, when I walk out to the car, I'm prepared and aware because I'm out in the open. There could be people. There are people out there that could show up. So I'm aware of them. I'm not afraid. I'm just aware. When I walk into a parking lot in the middle of the night, I keep an eye on the corners. I'm like, all right, if somebody's going to get me, it's going to be now, so I better be prepared. So, you know, tense up, get ready, whatever. Ladies, if you're feeling that fear, I'm not saying you're irrational. I'm saying be prepared. You're a little more likely to be, you're probably better off being prepared than afraid. That fear, I think fear, having fear is not, it's not a bad thing to be afraid, but it might be bad if it's all you think about. If you
yeah. It's like, if you have fear, you have to address it, or you have to test it, because when you don't test it, you limit yourself, because I guess fear is meant to get over. You're meant to get over, or at least you should. And I think sometimes we might get the wrong message, and the fear will drive you in the wrong direction, or maybe in a direction you didn't want to go. But
like being afraid of your kitchen window. So think about this, listeners, guys or girls. If you are a fellow person afraid of your dark window, you're not alone. If you think I'm a pansy because I'm afraid of my window, well, it's not entirely irrational, even though I feel like it the more I say it out loud. I think it would be better if I were to deal with that more constructively. Like, I do feel like talking about it made me feel like the next time I'm looking at that window, I can laugh about it more than I would be afraid of it. You know? So think of constructive ways to deal with your fear rather than letting fear run your life. maybe decide, do you really want to be afraid of your window?
Before
it gets that far.
Yeah, sweeping it under the rug will not do anything.
Yeah, well, I think I've done that enough that now I'm afraid of my window. So I'm aware of it now. I'm going to work on it. I'm going to try and laugh about it every time I look at that window. Like, really? is there some honcho out there? Is there some unwitting Mexican man out there just trying to, get to where he's going rather than spending time staring at me while I cook my dinner? It's that. Damn, the more I think about it, it sounds very irrational. But I've allowed it to get to this point, and maybe if you're dealing with something like that, I would hope that you could laugh at it, think about it, clear it up, don't hold on to it. And maybe think for yourself, is fear what we're born with, or did you learn it? And then comment. I always like to hear feedback, and it's very rare that we do, so it's kind of exciting when we do get feedback. And if you got something to say, you want to come on the podcast, you're more than welcome. We're looking for guests. But in the meantime,
hit us up.
Yeah, hit us up. But in the meantime, deal with your fear. Explore your fear. Maybe even test it. Maybe even stretch it. Maybe even push it and find out what's so irrational about it, or if it's true. Figure it out. Work on it, because I've let it get out of hand for me. And I still watch scary movies. That's kind of the fucked up thing. Like I've been watching some really messed up stuff, and it messes with me, and it's made me kind of watch the corners of my room a little too much. It makes me watch a moving object that shouldn't be moving. Like, oh, is that what's going on there? Like, no, it's probably not. It's probably not. All right.
Yeah.
But maybe being prepared isn't so bad as just being down outright afraid. So think about it. Again, that's the whole point of this thing. The reason we talk about these things is I'm trying to invoke some thinking and maybe even a conversation. Whether you get to talk with us or not, talk about it with yourself. Talk about it with your friends.
Mm-hmm.
Get to the bottom of it. Figure out why you're afraid of something. Yeah, start the dialogue. See my lights flashing right now, and I see a lot of that in the movies. Alright. So, anyway, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Unless Sky's got something to add, I think we're done here. I'm going to hit the red button. So, what do you say, Sky? Sky? You still out there? Or did somebody snatch you out of your room?
Yeah. I was lost in another thought.
Well, like what?
Just I guess testing your philosophies, the way you think. Like, just because you think that way doesn't mean it's true.
Yeah.
So you almost have to be brave enough to go out and see how strong your thoughts are, because you might be thinking wrong, and just you gotta be kind of not knocked down the size, but showing a realistic perception.
Yeah.
Sometimes we can all live in our heads.
Yeah, a little too much.
Yeah, and that's where we assume, or we put ourselves in a box where
you're complex.
We're letting the fear kind of run the game.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So,
it's explore your fears and see if some of them maybe aren't worth holding on to anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And,
We're signing off now?
I think so. I think we got a lot of fear.
Fear. I'm all thinking about this guy that you mentioned that wants to be in here with me and watch me sleep.
Yeah.
Sounds hot. I'm just trying to laugh about it because I gotta go to sleep soon.
Yeah. I'm sorry I said that.
It's on recording now, Sky. We can never forget this.
I'm not gonna talk about it no more.
All right, people.